What's up, y'all? I just put this shirt on so it's not quite sitting exactly where I'd like it to be. Shout out to the noise. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today's the 27th of March, 2025. Wind noise, traffic, playground, maybe things here in the parking lot as we go. Cool. All right. We are a clothing company, yes, In The Image Clothing Company, but we do so much more than just what you might think by knowing that. We address the human body's natural function. We come at it through the skeletal system because the fat content changes at different times in our lives. The muscle mass does as well. The amount that we have. The skeletal system of the human being has to always continue to be in its only working position, and clothing is the only thing placed physically onto it. It's the only thing that has that high of potential to alter the body. Talk about wind noise, I understand, but it's alright. Okay, three sides to us. This side here, we do things that I just addressed, just discussed. Clothing modifications. We will have clothing available made out of 100% natural materials, staying centered, fitting correct, allowing the body to work. Purchase it in your size if you ever do. But we also have one other third of our company, which is In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. And we have another third of our company, which is In The Image Clothing Company Music. I am a pretty darn good fingerstyle guitarist, crazy things with nylon strings from Evan Strong. So check out that side if you'd like to as well. Now, I'll talk about clothing really quick because for everybody, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, clothing has to sit in the same location on the human body to allow it to work. Every joint within the human body only has one neutral position and only one actual working that it will ever do. So, pants need to be entirely above our hips, all the way off the hips so there's no restriction, slightly higher in the front than the rear. There's a video that I made under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company titled Keeping Pants Higher in the Front. Keeping our core muscles activated will only ever be able to happen if that is the case with the waistline of our pants. The top seams that we wear need to be evenly behind the little bones that are on the top of our shoulders. That's the only way we will ever keep our shoulders in their only neutral positions behind our head. And the edge seams of our shoulders should ideally be right at the very edges because that's where the operation of the shoulder is. Now, In The Image Clothing Company has two prerequisites we talk about separately from where clothing sits because there's not always laces within shoes and there's not always tags within clothing. But when there is actually only one way to weave a rope across the top of the human foot and call it a shoe lacing technique. That is what we call In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique, found wherever you can find us on the internet. With that, we tie our shoes evenly over toward the inside to the center line of the human being that has to be there. The sternum, the spine, the nose, the trachea, the jaw, stabilizing the entire body have to all stay in the center. Two sides opposing with those gripped arches at our feet. Now, tags within clothing are something that has to be removed. That's our second prerequisite. If there's a tag within clothing, it's either causing a physical gap, changing the skeletal system's only working position, and or not allowing the musculature in that location to activate, and then in those cases, very often other parts of the body are having to compensate. If anything within the human body isn't working correct, something else and many things have to do some sort of compensation, and that can't happen. The body only ever works as a whole, and the way that our living God, Jesus the Christ, designed it to. That is what our name is. In the image of our living God is how and who and through and by the one is us. Designed in the image, okay? All one word, 5 within it. In The Image Clothing Company. Okay, let's get into this. The hand is essentially the shoulder. I've talked about it since the founding of In The Image Clothing Company. I've talked about it. I'm a fingerstyle guitarist. I play guitar really well, as I said, so I know what it means to be very intentional about the hands and the fingers and the functionality of all this going on. We live in a modern 2025. We have a lot of things that are flat. I know classical guitars, we'll just talk about this. This is not like the whole video about guitars, but classical guitars have been around longer than steel string guitars. Flat fretboards have been around longer than a radius, but the hands have always been around. The hands are always entirely damaged to a degree that is immensely crazy, absolutely absurd, and drives you mad when you're using things that are flat, because your hands never will work on something that is actually flat. In nature, there is never anything that is actually flat. There's always some sort of texture, and I mean, take that with a grain of salt, but even the salt flats here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, there's a lot of texture to the ground, okay? So the hands are essentially the shoulder. We have these modern technological devices that are flat. Our hands are always, will always, and can only ever be rounded. Now, when our shoulders are having pain, we have to look at our hands. We might, probably will, but no promises as of this moment, do a video titled "The Feet Are Essentially the Hips," because I say that as well. It's the same thing, okay? Now, when we have shoulders doing things that are not natural, pain in shoulders, functionality within them that maybe isn't so much functioning, we have to look at the hand, all right? Because especially in modern 2025, the things that we are using, all the gadgets and trinkets and things that we have, stuff that just never existed in the past, our hands are getting so damaged, and we have to understand there's only a neutral here. There's only a neutral straight out from the pinky, neutral wrist. Straight out from the pinky, neutral wrist, okay? If the neutral wrist isn't there, if the hand isn't round and open, the shoulders are damaged. I talk about so often the importance of fingernails cut all the way to the very tips, meaning left that long, not cut shorter. Otherwise, so much damage to the body. Fingertips are natural strength. That's like a statement in itself. What I meant is that, but yes, you'll never have your natural strength if you don't have fingernails. Your body will be compensating at the shoulder, okay? And then through the whole body. So, same with the toes. Toenails, so important, okay? Why else would they be there? So, yeah, I didn't know, right? We can't be held accountable for things we don't know, and I didn't know. I used to cut my nails way too short, and I was living in this state of like, feeling like life wasn't real half the time. So, and that was one of the main reasons, actually, in the times that was the case. So, the hands are neutral at the wrist. The hands are neutrally open, palmed, okay? And we can't ever be using anything flat and expect our feet to work, expect our core to stay activated, and expect our shoulders to stay naturally mobile, okay? I have naturally mobile shoulders. I don't do any type of mobility, any type of stretching, any type of anything to like get my body to work. The body will work. It's designed to. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Designed to Work. There's also one titled We Didn't Design It, We Can't Decide It Because We Cannot. So, rounded. The only way the hands will ever work. The shoulders are the hands are the shoulders. So much pain, discomfort, weird positioning within people's shoulders in modern 2025, and around this time going forth, it'll probably only continue to be as it is and maybe even worse. Because we don't use flat things, meaning we, being the human flesh that we are, the human body, never will. So, shoulder pain, it's coming from your hands, almost guaranteed. But it can come from anywhere within the body. Feet, hips, core, doing things because of feet or hips or shoulders or hands. The core has to stay activated, always. It always naturally would. It's the center of the human being. It's like the core of an apple. You take the core of an apple out, the apple withers away, okay? The hands determine that. Any part of the body determines that. As I say, if anything within the body isn't working correct, something else and many things have to do some sort of compensation. The body cannot, will, nor will, can't ever, it doesn't work within compensation. So, the hands have to be rounded. I understand we have things that are flat, but that's why I talk about things like modifications. We talk about modifications within clothing, but I also talk about modifications within the things that we do hold with our hands so commonly nowadays. And no matter what it is, ever at any time period for a human being, you have to have rounding to your hands. Meaning, anything that we place into our hands has to have some sort of round texture. Like a rock would, like a tree would, like anything that you'd come across in nature would, okay? Just because we create modern societies and just because we have what we call technology doesn't mean that we can change the way that our bodies work, because we designed these things, but we didn't design the body, and it will never change how it operates, and we can't ever have a say over it. So, yeah, the hands are essentially the shoulders. Now, there is so much happening with large things placed into our hands. We have so many things that just keep seeming to get bigger. I know it's this whole thing about bigger is better, so people say, but it's false. The hands have to close. I mean, this is how the hands work, right? All the finger pads touching together, not the tips. You can never do anything with the tips of your fingers. The pads, as if you're actually like gripping something, you can't ever do anything with the tips. So we're using the tips of our fingers for things, and they don't do that function. And that's another reason why nails get cut so short, but then your shoulders are in such pain and incorrect positioning, it travels through your entire body. So we have to allow our hands to feel texture, we have to allow our hands to have rounding, and we have to allow our hands to be using things that can fit within them. Look at my shoulders here. Too large and you're here, falling, dying. I mean, your body's literally suffering. It's being just depleted of all its liveliness when your hands are so open like this. You feel it all throughout your body to the tips of your toes, from the tips of your fingers, okay? Your hands have to use things that fit within them. We live in a modern world. We live in a I'm better than you world. We live in a comparison world, a world of I'm going to make a product that's larger, showier, and more in your face, but you can't fit in your hand. So, your body will be damaged, but your ego will be boosted. So, I've said that so many times. What I'm really doing is sowing seeds. I'm trying to help people understand the truth. In the Image Clothing Company speaks truths. Don't ever neglect your hands. There's nothing that has to come after that, but what I was meaning specifically for this video is if you're ever trying to address your shoulders, no matter what, you have to go to your hands, because people's hands get into chronic patterning. The like webbing, if you will, between the fingers can come out like this, kind of creep up the fingers to the ends of the fingers more, because if you're not using this rounding, you can see it within mine, because I for so many years was using things so flat and unnatural, and even just having the arches in your feet collapsed correlates with your hands so much, and that goes directly to your shoulders because of what this video is, right? So yes, the hands have to be open, okay? But open means able to close. And that's kind of paradoxical, but I actually made a video last fall in 2024 titled Internal Rotation is Closed Yet Open, and I talked about that, how at the extremities of the body, we need to be able to close, so that at our shoulder joints, and if the other extremity was the feet, closing, gripping arches, then the hips from the feet would be able to open and be mobile and loose. Try to open your hands as far as you possibly can and try to lift your shoulders up and rotate them. It will not happen. The body just works in line at its neutrals. Close your hands, touch all the pads together like this, wrapping around your thumb with the other 4 fingers, and then you can just have a lot of good, natural, healthy rotations within your shoulders with no compensation within the body. So today is the 27th of March, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. We will have clothing available. I said it, I'm going to say it one more time here. Staying centered, fitting correct, made out of 100% natural materials. That is how we allow the body to work. Please only ever purchase it if you do all that you can to get it in your size. Oversized clothing is in itself an imbalance. And yes, thank you. That was such a dramatic, ending. But just allow your hands to work. Get all your fingers together. Keep some rounding within there. Keep some texture. And fingernails. There you go. Shoulder pain will never be resolved without the hands being addressed, as I said. But also I talk about the outside of those forearms, because that neutral wrist, if it's been inhibited for X amount of who knows, then scar tissue adheres to the outside of that forearm, because that pinky's position is so misaligned. And at that point, the musculature that goes from the pinky to the elbow will try so hard to adhere to the bone of the forearm to stabilize because of lack of rotations. If there's not an opening within the palm, that rounding that I talk about, then your rotations within your forearms won't be there. And again, traveling straight to your shoulders. So, thank you.